Hi Lumineers, welcome to the Lighter Side Show. I'm your host, Jamie Butler, the Everyday Medium. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited. We have Danielle Hall in studio. Yay! We're going to be talking about sound and energy, and we also have the amazing Colleen Ziegler. Yay! I want some big sound effects behind that when this happens, Jesse. Make some sound effects.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I do have some housekeeping notes. Yay! So Lumineers, you guys have asked, what are we up to, where are we going, and what's happening? Well, you can find all that information at jamiebutlermedium.com. Click to sign up for the newsletter. It is all in there. Colleen, Jazz Hands, yay, puts it together perfectly, right? It's like organized, wonderful. Did you know Jazz Hands was part of your job description today? There you go.
I feel like I kind of need to do this, though. Because, that's a really big feat to newsletters, man.
Just heads up, Lumineers.
Of information.
We don't have fun here. It is hard work, nose to the grind, but we're happy to show up for you. Can you tell when I'm lying? Am I changing colors yet? Okay.
It's like a mood face.
We do have Luma Summit coming up October 19th through the 21st, and you're coming back this year.
I'm coming back. Thank you for inviting me back.
You're welcome. You're kidding. Top of the list.
And it's going to be a very different experience this year, too.
Why is that?
So I think, with anyone in just their own evolution, in their business, in their self-development, their meditation practices change, their businesses change, how they approach things change. And I'm at a phase where my sound healing facilitation and teaching has also evolved. And so this one is going to be a lot more around this primal sense of ourselves, this strength, the raw strength within, and creating an experience and channeling that experience through my guides to get you to experience that within yourself.
Yay.
And pull that out of you. Just like that.
Can you hear, half the people are like, whoa, my God. Yeah. And the other half the people are like, how does she do that?
That's a great
What do you
question.
mean she knows how to, do sounds that are primal and doing the pulling it out of you? So I want to get into that deeply. But I wanted to say first and foremost, I took a sound class with you. Yeah. You had I think you even once threw out in the class that you were just your first tester class, which it so was not. It was amazing.
Thank you.
I took the class with my niece, who's 15 years old, and we kind of sat together. We're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I think we just might learn about sound and maybe actually see some sound instruments. You brought in bowls that were larger than I've ever seen before. Huge! Like this, made out of crystal. Mm-hmm. And you even had gemstone bowls there, where bowls like this aren't, this is what, quartz?
So this is an example of a quartz crystal bowl, which is the big one that you saw in the class. And then we had rose quartz bowls.
Yeah, and you looked at it, and it looked just like rose quartz.
Amethyst bowls, gold bowls.
Yes, was there a tiger's eye or no? Is that the gold one?
Oh, I don't
God,
know.
there was so much.
There were so many.
Maybe?
Different size gongs, and you had this plate, the one that I decided to play. It's kind of like the
chladni
for
plate. The chlad. I always.
I'm like, what do you say?
Chladni plate.
That's how you say it.
Chladni plate.
No.
Chladni.
Yes.
It's all together.
It's all together.
Chladni.
Yeah.
Is it Irish? Gaelic?
Where is he from? That's the guy's last name. I think he's French.
Okay.
We'll double check that fact for you and put it in the fact notes or however we have it on the website.
Yeah.
But that's what you call the instrument that had the beads in it and everything?
Oh, no, that was a sea drum. Sorry, that's a sea drum.
That's what I want. But we're going to talk about that plate.
Okay.
Because that's next on my list.
Cool.
So you introduced sound healing. You talked about vibration. You talked about how we connect to sound. And you really focused on what did it feel like on the inside for us. And I really appreciate that. And at the end, you let us play some instruments, and I chose that one. It was looked like a drum, but it was clear on one side, and it had BBs in it.
Yeah, it's sometimes called a sea drum, sometimes called an ocean drum.
It did. It sounded like the ocean. But if you moved just a hair, all the beads would slam into the other side, and the people you're holding like
kind of
meditation
like a didgeridoo.
space.
Not a didgeridoo, but yes.
Yeah, the rain sticks.
Yes,
the rain sticks.
Yes. I don't know
But
why
like
I'm
in a
saying didgeridoo.
plate.
Well, they're long. Wood. Some of the same elements, not
Because I think that you've used that during your sound bath at the center before, and I thought it was a rain stick.
And it was an ocean
Yes.
drum, yeah.
Yes, this
Not a didgeridoo.
big round drum. So it was a trip using the instrument because every like breath, every little movement I made produced a sound, and I was not used to that. I thought I was going to go for a bowl, but I went for this thing, and it made me freeze.
Well, it's a really interesting instrument, and that you have to really slow down internally to play it.
Yeah,
because
you
if
do.
you're feeling a lot of energy, you're gonna want to you're gonna want to play it in a certain way. And I'm doing this because that's kind of how you hold the instrument. I apologize, we don't have that, but but come to a sound bath, and I'll show you what that is.
Yeah, and you have sound baths at the Center for Love and Light every month.
Yes.
Usually on a Wednesday night.
It's yes, and we just scheduled all of that for 2019. It'll be it'll always be a Wednesday through 2019. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And anywhere else? Are you still in the Bay Area?
I still facilitate in the Bay
Okay.
Area, but what I'm stepping into more and more of, and so you mentioned my class, and that was the first time that I taught it in a class format. But I've been teaching sound healing for the last 5 years with apprentices. And so now taking what I've taught my apprentices in this class format so that I can now make this curriculum easier to deliver to sound healers.
I was actually kind of bummed when the day was over.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
It could have kept going. It really could have kept going.
You could have taken that day class and made 6 out of them easily. The information was just mind-blowing, especially with that plate.
Which we'll
I'm
get.
not going to say it. Shalaloli.
Chladny. Yeah, well, and so in 2019, I will be facilitating more here in terms of sound healing classes, introducing the 101 class again.
Yeah.
But then also the 102 and the 103 are coming together to bring in. And then in December, I'm going to be teaching, this December 2018, I'll be teaching the 101 class in the Bay Area. So
nice. Lumineers, check out her website, soundembrace.com. Yeah. And all of your listings are on there, right? Where you're going to be, what you're playing, so forth, like where you're playing. Can I say playing?
You can say playing.
Is that weird?
I think it really depends.
Is that like calling a massage table a bed? Like, no. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you identify something therapeutic, but then you call it something every day, and it's just not right.
You know,
Doesn't
it
match.
really depends, because like, so one of the things that I teach sound healers is the difference between performing and facilitating. And yeah, we are performing. We're getting up. We have our instruments, and we're providing an experience for people. But there comes this this point where you're reading the energy of the space and then facilitating what the energy needs. So you're not just the performer anymore. Right. You're actually facilitating a therapeutic experience for people to receive what it is that they need to receive. So sometimes you could say performing.
I'll say where you're facilitating.
And sometimes I say events, sometimes I say sessions, but it depends on
I like that.
what the intention is around it. So if you go to my website, it'll say events, but mostly because the people who are coming to my experiences, if they hear the word session, they're not always receptive to coming to a session, but they're open to
Especially
coming to an experience
with other people.
Yeah,
If you call it a session and you think you're going to this healing session with other people, I can see where that might be challenging for some people.
Yeah,
but if you like you said, experience, it's much more, and that's what it is. It is an experience. And I would think that. I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah,
well, it comes down to the energy of words.
Yes.
And then coming back to, so like the Sound Healing 103 is really more of a business class. It's like, okay, great. You know how to use these tools. You have some background around it. Now, how do you actually take this thing that you believe in so much, and you can see, like, now you have the foundation of the science of sound. You're feeling comfortable with instruments and what you actually resonate with and what you want to bring to the table in your practice. But now, how do you talk about it to people who are not in this world?
Sure.
Because like a Reiki practitioner, for example, like energy work, may be struggling in their business because they're not using the words that energetically align with somebody and where they are. Yeah.
Come across that, yes.
Yeah. So it's like it's not just about the energy of the instruments. It's not just the energy of not even just the energy of the person, but also tapping into the energy of words and understanding where people are at and meeting them there.
Okay, so this leads me, I've had questions from Lumineers that have asked, when you're approaching sound and energy or sound healing or sound therapy, how is the sound produced? Like, are there instruments? Is it vocal? Is it pre-recorded? Is it like a binaural beat? Like, if they're showing up for sound therapy, what is that?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's all of those things. So, it really depends on the practitioner. The way that I facilitate and the instruments that I use are not necessarily going to be what you gravitate towards if you were going to step into being a sound practitioner, sound healing practitioner. You might just use the C drum. Like, that might just be
Master C drummer.
Master C drummer, and like that might be what you use because it connects more with you and your energy. So it's when you choose your instrument, and
choose
this is
wisely.
Choose. I would say choose based on what actually resonates with you, what you gravitate towards. And that's what people are going to feel energetically too. It's like, I'm not choosing the quartz crystal bowls because I think the quartz crystal bowls are going to make me money. I choose the quartz crystal bowls as my main instrument because that had a profound effect on my own healing experience and my own personal journey and my own meditation practice. But if I didn't already have a connection with that instrument to begin with, energetically, it's not going to amplify what it is I'm wanting to bring to the table.
That's a really good point. There was one thing, a sound that you made during your class when you were asking us to connect. You would put us through these little meditations, and you exhaled really loudly, like you were shushing something away. And it dawned on me.
I just got chills.
It's
reminding me of
want
that.
to do it like a release.
Yes. It was like you were exhaling, not just directly at some of it. You sweeped it across the room when you were moving. And I physically responded to that on such a level. And I was, after it happened, I kind of came out of it because I was so surprised that I had done that. And I was like, oh man, every noise she makes. And then you spoke up after this and you said you have to be aware of how you're stepping, not wearing shoes. And if you're barefoot, you can actually hear the foot sticking to the floor a little bit. So you wear socks, and I was like, I kind of became so hyper aware of sound for weeks. I was like laying in my bed and I was like, oh, the house is creaking. This is making a sound. Like, how am I absorbing this and how is it affecting me?
Yeah. Well, and to kind of rewind a little bit, the first thing you were talking about with the breath. So in this particular experience that I was showing my students was how to use drumming to for a specific intention. And so I was giving a demonstration. A lot of what I do in my classes is give you the experience first so that you can actually have the experience and then tell you what it was, like break it down and kind of give you like why it's doing these different things to the body, why you're having this different type of experience. So first have the experience, explain what it is, and then now because of your own experience, you can then start to translate that to somebody else who hasn't had that experience before, one. But then feel confident in the information so that energetically you're able to deliver that information with confidence. And so with the breathing, introducing the breathing with that particular exercise was more because it was a really high it was an intensity situation that I was creating. And some people were having an emotional response to it. And so bringing in breath reminds you on a subconscious level to breathe, for one. It reminds you to breathe. Breath is the life force of our energy, of our being. And a lot of times when we're in stress, we forget to breathe. We restrict our breathing, which then creates more stress within the body. So bringing in the breath at that point, yeah.
It's amazing how you find yourself in situations and you literally go, okay, I don't think I'm breathing. Yeah.
I locked my keys in my car.
Yeah.
Like I got the text from my kid. This is like one of my friends. We were in a conversation. He's like, I just got a text from my kid's school. She was chewing gum and was like voicing her opinion, and I could hear him stop breathing. I'm like, okay, breathe. She's a really powerful individual who has opinions, and he's like, I know, but it's getting her in trouble. So there are these moments that we get in this like moment of stress and we seize up, but we forget to breathe. And so when you're creating a sound experience that is making people feel, making something that's kind of can be intense for someone, using your own breath subconsciously tells them to breathe.
Sure.
And to relax. And so, or to feel the emotion that's coming up because they're resisting it.
How do you sense that in a room? Like, how do you perceive the energy when you are facilitating in a room and hosting a sound bath and creating that experience for people? How do you know when it's time to breathe like that? Like, do you look for visual clues? Do you look for sensory clues? Like the feeling in the air?
That's a great question.
Like, how do you perceive the energy in the room?
So,
she's magic.
Well, I know that.
My guides just come in and they're like, do this.
I'm thinking like the clairs. What clairs are you incorporating?
Clairs?
Yeah, clair sensitive, clairvoyant. What are you doing?
I don't know what I am when it comes to that. Okay,
we could figure it out.
Okay, let me know. I'm not educated in those things. But
we're gonna figure out what clairs. This is awesome.
Let me know. So the first thing that I'm looking for, I play in a very particular way for the first 4 to 8 minutes. Everybody's just coming into a space. They don't really know each other. They're coming from whatever happened in their day.
They're laying down with blankets.
They're laying down with
strangers.
It's like an adult sleepover, and like everybody's kind of like, I gotta lay down next to this person I don't know, and it's like I'm asking people to do something weird. Like I really am. I'm like, hey, come in, y'all. We're gonna lay down, and I'm gonna play this thing called a crystal bowl, and like. So what's really important, to come back to your point about why I was talking about wearing socks, and I'll bring that back around over here, is that when someone comes to one of my sessions, I do everything I possibly can to turn off the subconscious conversations. I don't know what people are coming in with. You don't know what somebody's coming in with your sessions when somebody's coming to a Reiki session or even a massage therapy session, a crystal therapy session, color therapy session, whatever you're inviting people into. And you may have done your consultation or whatever it is that you do before you have a one-on-one. But here my experiences are with groups of people who don't know each other, and I don't have that opportunity necessarily to have a consultation with them. So I want to make sure that from the door to their mat, that we are switching off these subconscious fears that people are having. They're entering this new space, most people are entering an experience that's completely brand new. So everything from the person greeting them at the door with a smile and their own energy, to me greeting them at the door. That's why I hug everybody. Like if you come to one of my sound baths, I try to hug everybody as they're coming in the room, because I could do that because I'm like 5 feet tall, female, and like maybe like a 6'4" dude.
Might be a little intimidating.
May not be, but then he has other things that this person can do to also like kind of break down those barriers to trust. And that's really what I'm trying to create in like that first like 10 minutes of people even just coming into the space. So the thing with the socks is like, I really just want to eliminate everything that there are things that you have control of, things that you have partial control of, and things you have absolutely no control of. And so the things that I have control of, like me stepping with bare feet and creating that sound, this other sound that might take somebody out of their experience, especially my feet. People are laying down on the floor, by the way. So like, you know, I'm walking by people's ears. By their head. So like, I don't know, maybe I was rushing that day and I was wearing sneakers and maybe my feet stink. Like, I don't know. Like, I need to make sure that I have like a clean pair of socks while I'm facilitating. That's one thing that I think of. That's one thing I have control over to make people feel comfortable and be open to this type of experience. And then with the sticky feet thing, that's the other thing too. Other sounds can take somebody out of the experience. Turning off the AC, that's something that I have control over in lot, not all situations, but because there are other things that happen that we have no control over, which is how is their body really going to act and react based on their...
how my brother snored through your session when he showed up.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Jason.
Love you. And so... as I'm facilitating, like those are some of the really important things that I do, because if I didn't prepare those things in the beginning, they're internal things that I'm going to start to see people do, or I'm going to start to see people react and react in a way and feel things in a way where, because they don't trust the situation that I've just invited them into. So that's one thing that I do so that I can watch their actions and reactions.
Ding, ding, ding. I would call that clairsensitive. What would you call it?
Clairsensitive.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for the first 4 to 8 minutes, I don't even know what that means. So the first 4 to 8 minutes, honest. Truth. So like the first 4 to 8 minutes, I play in a very particular way to get everyone's heart rates matched. I want...
that's what you're doing.
Yeah. For the first, for the very beginning of it. Because you see everybody kind of fidgeting. You can see visually everybody, how they're breathing. They're still trying to get comfortable. And then at some point, you actually see this happen. Like, this is somebody's chest. Like, this person's breathing. This person's breathing. And then eventually, they entrain to each other. Because I'm playing in a very particular way.
And do you watch for clues?
I'm watching for that.
Physically watching for those clues.
Okay. I'm watching for those entrainment. And then you don't see anybody move. And that's when I know I got you. That's when I know I can take you on the journey.
I got him now.
Brings out the witch's brew.
But at this point, now I'm not having any of these other visual cues. So now I'm dropping in and allowing myself to drop in further into a meditative state. And so I'm feeling what the sounds are doing to my body.
That's awesome. So you can be a part of the experience.
So now I'm a part of connecting with them energetically. Yes. And so...
I'm so glad you're able to do that. You know, to actually be a part of the experience and not just to be in control of it, for lack of better words. You know, like you can actually find yourself becoming a part of it. That's very cool.
And I think it takes a little bit of practice. This is where... like sound healers get really frustrated and don't really understand the facilitation aspect of things. And rather they're just like playing their bowls or they're banging their drum or their gong, and they're not tapping in. This is the point where like it's like, you know that when you drop into a meditative state, you kind of feel a little heavy. There are different physical sensations that you feel.
Heavy and sensitive. At the same time.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
I love that. And so with sound healing, there's this sweet spot. So like if this is the line, and if you drop below that line, and that line being the meditative state right here.
And then sleep.
Yeah, different brainwaves. Like your brother.
Oh.
Hey, he's not the only one I've heard snore.
No, there's always one.
Yeah.
There's always...
Or seem like they're very comfortable.
Yeah, there's like that deep breathing.
Deep breathing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so with facilitating, you hover above that line. So like you're feeling that really meditative space, but you got to stay up. You got to stay active. You got to be aware. You got to keep your awareness up. So you're feeling into that meditative state, and you start to get these knowing senses of, okay, I don't know why, but I don't need to play the third chakra bowl. Or I don't need to be playing a drum right now, or I'm not playing a gong at all. So like I go in with like an outline. That's all I can do is go in with an outline, but I can't.
Are you hearing this? Ding, ding, ding. Claire, cognizant. She knows.
Yeah.
She just knows.
Just
she
like
knows
a
how to
knowing
play that
sense?
bowl. Yeah.
You know what?
Fair.
My mind was so far off in another place. I was thinking, my first sound healing experience was in a group of very sweaty people. And
I don't even want to know why you know that.
I know this because they just all got done doing heavy dancing.
Oh, okay.
And the next part of what was going on at this particular thing was the sound healing, sound bath. And so I decided that's what I was going to go to. And it was all gong.
All gong, yeah.
All gong. And it was so intense.
Yeah.
I had never experienced anything like that. So that's what I started thinking about. I was like brought back to that point. But at the same time, when I was going home that night, it stirred something up inside of me. Like at the time, it felt really uncomfortable. But energetically, it cleaned me out.
Yeah, that's
It
what
was
actually that's the purpose of the
wild.
gong.
Yes.
It's to get things to shake up in the body and get you to feel the thing that you're resisting.
Yes.
And if you're not resisting anything at that time, because like one moment you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that was the most blissful experience in my life, the gong.
The energy in the room, everyone's totally accepting. You'll choose not to play the gong. Like everyone's good. There's no resistance.
There's always going to be someone who has resistance. It's more of like, I might get a sense of somebody that's like energetically really not the right time. And so even though like I know that you have to let the ego go, because I love playing the gong. I love playing the gong. I love it. I love it. But and there's a point in the session that I always try to play the gong. But for example, I was facilitating at a yoga studio, and there was a gentleman that just like energetically, I kept getting pulled to pay attention to him. And there were certain instruments that were creating certain body movements for him, like full body seizing up, and contracting, and if I went into playing the gong, for example, that would have sent him in a not good place.
Yeah.
It would not have been a pleasant experience for him. It wouldn't have been what he needed. And so because there's just one person that on an extreme level that energetically I'm being pulled to bear witness to, or to receive their energy in a particular way, I have to pay attention to that to make sure that it's a safe experience for everybody in the room.
What would be happening, and you don't have to tell us his personal experience, maybe you don't even know it, but energetically what's going on in a body that's responding that way?
Okay, so,
Resistance?
and I did have, there's a resistance, trauma, like PTSD. You really don't want to, there's a particular way you can play a gong that can be introduced to somebody with PTSD.
I can totally see what you're saying. With my experience with the gong, I can see where that'd be pulling some major stuff out of people.
Right.
Major stuff, yeah.
And the gong is... So like part of like in my sound healing class too is like, when do you play different instruments? Why do you play those instruments? What is the history with those instruments, and how are they used in those cultures? Because like here we are in the sound healing industry pulling from all these different cultures, and how do you make sure that
it's a big responsibility.
It's a big responsibility in what you're.
You even have to think. My dad fought in Vietnam War. And still today, when he hears a certain kind of helicopter, it triggers him, the sound of it.
Yeah. Like trigger memories.
Yes, the type of blade and how fast it's going, what kind of helicopter it is. And he's right back in it. And so that's not something I've thought about until you were just talking. Like if I was in a sound bath thinking the person next to me, how much we are triggered by sound, where would that take them on the inside, and what are they trying to heal or let go of, or
even how different vibrations hit the body. I mean,
That's
they could
what
be
I wanna
like
talk about.
triggering things that it might not even be that exact sound, but it's where it hits.
Yes,
and
like
then that release that happens.
How does sound healing work? Like, talk about the body and the physiological aspects of how sound healing works.
Okay. So,
and wrap it up.
5
minutes.
Let's see. So on a fundamental level, a very basic fundamental level. So it's been about 100 years-ish since quantum physics came into the conversation. We're moving away from Newtonian physics, which is how the medical industry, the medical field, perceived of how the body works. That like this is matter, and we if we have disease here, we cut it out and we sew it up, and because it's physical matter. But
it's back to that 8th grade science, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were taught, though.
A couple of episodes ago, yeah.
That's what we're okay. But that's what we're taught, and it's just been a little, like, around, 100 years, 1900, and then, like, in 1924 was when the conversation really started to gain more momentum around quantum physics, that everything is energy. That, like, this physical reality is an illusion. And when we look at the Newtonian atom, we think of like, with that thought, it's like we have that visual of like the nucleus and like the electrons and neutrons and how it looks kind of like a solar system. Like that's how we were taught. But when you actually look at it,
I'm sure that's how they're still taught.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm just talking about regular.
That's what my kids are learning right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. But like with quantum physics, when you're looking at an atom, you're not seeing anything because everything is in motion. And so, and because everything is in motion, it's giving off its own resonant frequency. So the foundation of sound healing is that everything is in motion. Everything is frequency. The universe, everything has its own resonant frequency. So because everything has its own resonant frequency, everything is kind of moving at its own rate. And the reason why they're not seeing it is because it's moving so fast, but this is where the entanglement comes into play of the different frequencies in being entangled to then create the physical matter that we see or that we are experiencing. So now we know energy. And so in the physical body, I'll give kidney stones as an example. So with kidney stones, this is a way that sound healing is actually being used. Or energy healing is more what energy medicine is what they're calling it in the medical field when they're actually using it in this way.
I really like the term energy medicine.
I do too.
I do
it's
because
helping to give it more validity too.
The healing part, I think, sometimes tricks people into thinking, well, after that session, I'm supposed to be healed. Right. And that's really not what's going on. It's energy medicine.
Thank you.
Is what it is. I've been thinking a lot about that lately.
I really appreciate that because you're right. Like we call ourselves sound healers. I always add practitioner to the end of it because I'm still like, I'm not healing you, but I'm creating the environment for your body to go into its own natural healing state. And so that's really what's happening on an energetic level is that the proteins in our body respond to our environment. So, So like we could think of our body as like this robot or this machine. And this machine is built up of proteins. And the proteins take their instruction from molecules. And so, but
you could be hired out for science class.
As long as she teaches like
but
this.
I gotta talk like this. And so this is kind of also where like epigenetics comes into play, because it's all about the energy of the environment. So in Newtonian physics, it's all about like molecules carry information. But it's not just in quantum physics, we're going into a conversation around like it's not just the molecules that carry information. And yeah. And so like when an atom receives, so an atom is giving off a frequency, but it can also receive frequency. And so in these proteins, proteins have these receptors, and that kind of look like a tuning fork. And so it's these receptors that are receiving the energy that's coming in, or the frequency that's coming in. So they kind of, I don't know, they kind of look like this-ish.
That's pretty cool.
And so to bring it back to the kidney stone, so one way that they're using sound and vibration with kidney stones is that they are finding the resonant frequency of the kidney stone and then sending that frequency, giving it energy. When you have something that's
like homeopathy. Is that it?
you're giving the same frequency. Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So you're feeding it more energy, and
like,
so what?
Like treats like.
Light treats. Yes. Light treats like.
Yeah. That's homeopathy.
But in this case, it's the same. Something that we're actually wanting to get rid of. So here's this like kidney stone that's like vibrating at this oscillation, at this frequency, and then you feed it the same energy and it starts to like shake up even more, and then all of a sudden it explodes. And so now you have all of these little crystal sand pieces that are easier to pass than like this big old kidney stone. And the reason why the frequency...
My palms are sweating.
My armpits are sweating.
I was trying so hard not to look at Jamie's face as you were explaining that.
In that moment, I don't want a kidney stone.
Nobody wants a kidney stone. But like, so then like, it doesn't affect, that frequency doesn't affect anything else in the kidneys because it's not that resonant frequency.
It's amazing.
So you're feeding that energy. So if so like in Newtonian physics, it's like, so what's really interesting is that in the medical field, we're actually using frequency to find what's wrong with someone. So like, because so like MRIs, CAT scans,
they're all frequency based.
It's all frequency. And so if you're going in for a breast exam, they are testing to see what the frequency that's being given off, if it's cancerous, not cancerous, it all comes down to the frequency, and they know what the frequency is of a cell.
I don't think I fully realized that.
Yeah. It's like
But at the same time, aren't those machines giving you a frequency or not? Is it just
sound and all that happening in there?
Yeah. Well, so this goes into something else, but they're using this as a diagnostic tool. But then they're not using frequency as a healing tool, as the preventative tool, or the way to vibrate cells back to a healthy state. And so that's what I find really interesting. They're using it as a diagnostic tool, acknowledging that our cells give off frequency because the frequency that they're getting is giving you this picture and showing
that's
you.
Where Danielle comes in.
Yeah, but they're not using as a healing.
But they're not using as a healing tool. They're still like, we got to go in and remove the cancer cells. Or we're going to use radiation in this way to kill the cell, which is one form.
My only magical 2 cents I know about sound medicine is the cat's purr. The speed of a cat's purr is the same speed or vibration that rebuilds bones. And so now doctors and scientists have gotten together and created it's a little box that you wear over your injury or for people with osteoporosis, and it basically purrs like a cat, and you wear that machine to rebuild your bones.
Right.
Okay, I knew the first part. I've never heard that second part of the box.
The box is like not that, it's kind of new. Ish.
I haven't heard that.
Isn't that crazy?
But that's the thing is like quantum physics is only like 100-ish years old, and it's just now like our doctors now are not they don't know to apply this stuff. They weren't taught this in medical school when they went to medical school. So it's really this new frontier of doctors that are starting to come in, that are starting...
New frontier person.
I'm a new frontier person. But, you know, but so just to give an example of like how, like we are energy beings, we are giving off frequency, and it's just now that we are getting on board in the medical field to use it in this, looking at the body as a whole system rather than this like little piece.
Have you seen firsthand people fully be healed from, I know that you're using the kidney stone example. Have you seen that?
With kidney stones?
Yeah. With people with kidney stones, not the physical kidney stones.
I have not seen anyone
but have
with
you
kidney
seen
stones.
people with these kind of challenges, ailments, whatever you want to call them, be healed with sound healing?
Well, so this is going back to energy. So first, so yes and no.
Okay.
So yes, in the way of, I know people who have had kidney stones and have had this type of treatment done,
Ditto.
and it's been released. But what happens? They get kidney stones again. And you're like, okay, well, we just eliminated that, but they're not getting to the root cause of the problem.
Exactly.
And so this comes back to the environment and the energy of the environment. This comes back to the energy of food. Basically, it comes back to information. We are giving information with our cells. We are receiving information with our cells. And so food is giving our cells information. It has its own vibratory frequency. The people we surround ourselves by and the energy of that emotion that we get from them. So I just gave an example with the kidney stones around, you know, we see the problem and we get rid of the thing, the one thing. It's almost like sticking a Band-Aid on it, right? Because with that person, then they get the kidney stones again.
So they're gone. I'm going to go back and I'm going to
eat the same way. I'm going to
drink my 20 Cokes a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of that, 20 Cokes is like not a lie. This is, I mean, these are stories that I hear from clients.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
You'd be shocked to hear what some people put in their
Consume?
bodies every day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a very
And I
interesting
think they don't have an understanding that what they're putting into their body is information. It's not something that we're necessarily taught growing up. And those who are taught that growing up, like, that is amazing. But so, like, yeah, we're clearing this problem. Great, it's gone. But then the problem comes back. So now with the work that I do, because I'm not in necessarily a medical setting, I'm in like these group sound baths or teaching or in a therapy setting. It's more about getting to the root cause of why that thing is happening in the first place, that physical manifestation of the environment that's causing the thing to happen. Because again, it's information. And so one of the examples I like to give is, so pretend this quartz crystal bowl is your brain. And then that is your brain.
I'm with you.
Okay?
Is it about to be our brain on drugs?
Not quite.
Is our brain about to be whacked?
You read that?
So pretend that this quartz crystal bowl is your brain, and that this striking wand is a thought. Okay? You have a thought. That thought hits your brain. It's sending all of these really great signals to your body, telling it how to act or react. And depending on what that thought is, for example, if it's I am abundant, then there's this very expansive feeling and expansiveness that happens within the body that's creating flow. That signal goes to the receptors the receptor cells, telling the proteins how to act and react. But if it's a thought of, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, the body reacts in a completely different way. It is usually some kind of contraction of a particular part of the body. And so in this contraction space, this is when we get into a place of dis-ease within the body. So that's when things like migraines can come, or digestive issues, or anxiety, depression. Like there's, what I'm noticing in my practice is that when we're not fully expressed, for example, we have feelings of being disconnected. that nobody understands us or really knows us. We have this feeling of loneliness, and that's where depression and anxiety can come from. And so it's great to, let's like get rid of the kidney stone, or let me create an environment for your body to feel relaxed in that moment. But what is actually so powerful about a sound bath experience is that it creates the opportunity for you to have these inner awarenesses, for this self-realization, because it's been able to, sound became the vehicle to get you to stillness, and it's in stillness that we are able to get to self-realization.
So then you get to the core of what the issue or the problem, the dis-ease really is.
Yeah.
So then you're not relying on the fixes, but you're addressing the root.
The core issue of the problem, exactly.
It's beautiful.
And it's something that we just don't think about taking personal ownership of. And it's through that awareness that we're then able to empower ourselves to make the change that we want to see in our life.
So if there's one thing I want Lumineers to take home with them, is to try sound bath. If you haven't had this experience before, my goodness, try it. Do you know, is there a big like directory somewhere that's like, here are the sound healers, and this is where
Sound bathers of the world?
Yes.
Sound bathers of the world. Sound healers of the world.
No.
There's healingsounds.com by Jonathan Goldman. He has a resource of some sound healers. I don't know if you have to actually pay to have access to that, or if it's the sound healers that have to have access or to pay for the membership. But
you have an app, Sound Embrace app.
I do have an app coming out, and I am working on my own directory of sound healers, but that's going to be like, if you need sound healers in the Bay Area, LA, Atlanta, or New York, or Philly, I can help you with that.
You got a pretty good little
people who I would actually recommend.
Sure.
Who are actually have a foundation in sound healing that I would trust to guide you in that experience. But but the app, I have a sound healing app that's going to come out in the new year. It'll be a free version this first round, where it has 4 categories free. It'll have 2 2-minute and 2 10-minute in each of the 4 categories for you to actually just experience it and give feedback on your experience in using the app.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that. And in 2019, you have classes happening.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
I'm going to be in those classes.
I just got to get with you and Corey and like get the dates.
We will make that happen.
It's coming. Yeah.
Well, is there any like last golden nugget, anything that you would like to share with our viewers about how sound is therapeutic?
I think the first thing is to really start to become aware of the sounds in your environment. I think that is a really powerful way to experience how powerful sound can be. But know that too, that sound and vibration is information. And that information is also carried through our emotions and even our thoughts of how we think about ourselves to ourselves. Paying attention to the internal sounds of your thoughts and the external sounds of your environment.
That's a great first step.
Yeah.
Colleen, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you for being here.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
I was just thinking, I just can't wait to get into another sound bath sometime soon. I'm like, when is the next sound bath? And I actually think you were doing it the week of Luma Summit and then at Luma Summit. Am I right?
Yes.
Is that what's on the calendar?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that Wednesday before Luma Summit, I have a sound bath
Which would be great for us to go to.
Yes, it will.
I always kind of think of your sound baths as this like energetic download. Is how I view it. It's like I'm just like getting this download. It's very interesting experience.
Thank you. Well, and you're allowing yourself to drop into that experience and to have that. But I think that also comes from, we have a rapport. We know each other now. And you energetically allow yourself to be open to what I'm providing. And I think that's
true.
Like when it comes to energy, any advice to any other energy worker, whether it's sound healing or Reiki or anything like that, channelers, is, energetically, how are you making that person feel comfortable and confident to be able to be vulnerable in an experience that you're inviting them into?
It's big, and we can tell it's a high priority for you.
It's super
and you follow through
important.
with it. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and being patient with us today.
It's been so fun.
As Lumineers, I don't know if you can tell with Jessie's awesome editing.
Thank you, Jessica.
A few of us, not pointing to anyone specific, broke down in laughter quite a few times. I couldn't get myself together. I love being with these women. It's just fantastic. Lumineers, I hope you got something from it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, this, it's not woo-woo. It's true. Bye, Lumies. See ya. I just thought I did it real fast. Side.